Module 2, Lesson 4, Python Strings. In this lesson, we are going to look at strings. So, it is good that we look at strings because we require them when working with datasets in data science. So, what is a string? A string is simply a sequence of characters. And the way you create string, you put it in double quotes or single quotes. For example, if I say name is equals to, and I put it in quotes, let's say my name, Kevin Amai, this becomes a string. What I mean is that you cannot apply mathematical function on this variable string. You cannot do something like, rounding off, performing absolute functionality on this because it is a string. The way the program interprets this, it interprets it as a string of character. Even if I do something like number, I put it in, let's say, double quote, and I say 07, 89, 45, 67, 28. This still is a string. Even if I say something like password, let's say and asterisk, this still is a string. Let us just create one string that we'll be working with until the end of this lesson. Let us call this string description. And now let us put this value in. Jack is the best. So there are a couple of things that you can perform on a string. Number one, you can start with slicing. If you remember, while working with list, slicing involved fetching part of the string using the square brackets. In this case, you can perform the same thing on a string. Suppose I want to fetch the first character of the string. I can just do something like description, and then square brackets, then I put in 0, then I can just say something like print. Let me just print for now. And so if I run this code, it prints J down here. So the very thing that you could perform on a list, you can perform on a string. And in this case, still you can fetch this last variable using the -1 index, this letter T. And if I run this code, it prints for me T down here. So again, let us say if I want to fetch these characters J up to maybe say S. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, in a string, also these spaces are considered to be part of this string. So if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so this S here is on index number 7. So if I want to fetch up to S, what I do is that I'll start from 0, then I put a full colon to show up to where I'm supposed to fetch, or rather the end of my fetching. In this case, I'll put 8 here. And if I run this code, you see it prints Jack is, because it counts this space as part of the string. Also, again, one more thing about slicing that you can do with string is that, for example, assuming that I want to fetch values which are on the even indexes. By this I mean 0, 2, 4, 6, like that. The only thing I'm required to do is that you use these double quotes twice, and then you put 2 like that. And if I run this code, you see something cool. Down here it prints J, C, S, T, E, B, S. This is at the index 0, then this is 1, then 2. It prints C, then I come, this is index 3, then index 4. It prints space, which is at the index 4. Then I come 5, then I come 6. It prints S, which is at the index 6. Then I come 7. Then this is 8. It prints T, which is at the index 8. So simply this function, what it does, it prints those characters in a string which are at an even index. So let me just comment this guy out and write for you here a comment. Print those values at an even index. And then Suppose I want to fetch those characters at an even index, but now I want to restrict this, let us say up to the 5th index. The only thing I can do to this function now, I'm only required to write print, and then using the slicing idea, I can write from where I'm supposed to start at the string, which in this case it is 0. Let us say up to 5. Now this will run up to 4. Since you know by slicing, it fetches, or rather it performs functionality up to one less character, that which you have specified here. And so if I write here description, let me just write like that, and I put another full colon here, and I specify 2. This 2 tells the string, I want you to fetch even characters in this string, but I do not want you to fetch until their end. I want you to fetch these characters, these even characters, up to the character number 4. If I run this code, you'll see down here it prints JC. And starting from here, J, it is at the index 0, C, it is at the index 2, and this is 3K, then it comes 4, which is a space. That's why you are not seeing any other letter, or rather any other character in front of this JC, because it has reached 4, and the only characters which are at an even index is JC and space, so it only prints JC. The next thing we can perform on strings are a couple of functions that you can perform on strings. And here are the functions. For example, the same way you can find the length of a list, now you can also find the length of a string. For example, if I tap this function len, and I just write my string down here, let me print this guy out. And so if I run this code, you see down here it prints 16. This is the length of the string. Also again, let us say I want to convert this string to maybe uppercase. The only thing I'm required to do, I can just write description, which is my string. Then I write dot upper. And if I run this function, down here it prints my string, but now in an uppercase form. The same case, if I want to translate this string into lowercase, the only thing I'm required to do is type my string here, which is description dot lower, which is description dot lower. And so if I run this code, you'll see down here it prints Jack is the best. That is the way you can transform a string into lowercase. Also, what I can do with this string, let us say I want to replace the name Jack to be Kevin. The only thing I'm required to do, there is a function which we call replace, and the only thing I'm required to do now is write description dot replace. Then the first thing I pass here is that part of the string which I want it to be replaced, and in this case it is Jack. I want to replace it with Kevin. And so if I run this code, you see down here it prints now Kevin is the best. And suppose again I want to find part of the string in this string. For example, let us say I want to find where the name Jack is. The only thing I'm required now again to do is write description dot find, and then I'll pass in that which I need to find, and in this case is Jack. If I run this code, see down here it prints for me 0 because Jack starts from 0. If I say something like is inside here, and if I run this code, you see it prints for me 5 because if I start from here, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is start from the 5th index. And the last thing, what we can do with the string, strings, though we cannot perform mathematical function on string, but we can also concatenate string. By this I mean you can join string, you can replicate them if you wish. For example, let us say I need to add another string on my string here description. Maybe it becomes Jack is the best guy in town. What I can do, this is now new description description. In this case will be the first description, which is description. Then I can use the plus sign and add my new string, which will be guy in town. So this is my new description. It will print Jack is the best guy in town. Let us just print this code down here. This will be, if I copy this guy right here, let us print him down here. And so let us run our code. Down here it prints Jack is the best guy in town. And also, let us say I want to replicate this string to be thrice. Jack is the best guy in town. Jack is the best guy in town. Jack is the best guy in town. The only thing I'm required to do now is right here. Let me just say replicated string is equal to, let us say 3. Then use the asterisk, which is the multiplication sign, new description. So if I print this replicated string here, let's just print this guy down here. If I run this code, you see now it prints Jack is the best guy in town. Jack is the best guy in town. Jack is the best guy in town. But now you see the problem with this new string is that it is kind of cluttered, or rather it is squeezed. And the way I can put spaces in my string, you use the tab, or you can use the new line functionality. Let me just use another string so that you can understand better. Let's say I have this string down here. Let us say my new string is Jack is the best guy in town. And so you can see the way I've wrote this string is that I've wrote best and guy as one word. So the way I can do, in order to separate these guys, I can use what we call the tab. This string, it will be separated by a tab. So if I print down here, let us say new string, you see down here we have now Jack is the best, and then space guy in town. I can also use what we call the new line, which will just be / and n. And if I run this code, now this is something interesting. Jack is the best in one line. Then the new line, what it does is that it takes all the code, or rather all the characters that follows the new line character, and places it in a new line. Let us say you wish to include these two characters in your string without performing this functionality that they are performing down here. The only way you can do this is that instead of writing just like this, you will put another / before this character. And in this case, if I run this code, you see I have printed the character /n without performing any functionality in this code. That is the way if you wish to include any character in a string, you just use this /. The way it interprets this code is that check this code, and when it sees this / and then understand, print this guy just as part of the string and do not perform the functionality that is intended to. That is all for now for you to get started with strings.